All right, and hello, everybody. This is Allen Devlin at the Atlanta News First Alert desk. It is 8 o'clock, or 8:01, I should say, a little bit afterwards. And our top story tonight is, as it has been for the last several days, Hurricane Idalia, which has now passed over Florida and is rumbling through Georgia and South Carolina. That's what we're dealing with right now. And so the impacts, not necessarily being felt that strongly here in the metro, but it is impacting some of our statesmen down on the coastline, on the South Carolina coastline, areas like Tybee Island, Hilton Head, Savannah. Those cities right now, Charleston included, those cities getting a whole lot of rainfall as this thing continues to roll through. So if you've been watching our newscast here the past couple of days, you know that we've got team coverage spread out along South Georgia and North Florida, covering this story right along the Big Bend of Florida, where that hurricane made landfall as a Category 3 early this morning. It's continuing to rumble across the states here, but I wanted to get out to one of our team members who actually has been out in Florida here, rolling around with this storm, looking at some of the damage that's been left behind. This is Joshua Skinner. Josh, you've been out there for the last 2 days or so, I would say, and I've been watching you online and also on your social media pages, what you're sending back to the newsroom, what you're doing on air. It's been a mess. Walk our viewers through what you've been dealing with as you kind of sit front row to this storm.
Yeah, Alan, first off, right now, the weather's the best we've seen since we've been out here as the hurricane has moved through. So just like a partly cloudy night, a little muggy, but thoroughly pleasant. What we went through last night and this morning, totally different story. When we started yesterday evening, there was one of the outer bands of Hurricane Idalia came rolling through Lake City. That's where we're staying. It's kind of in the northern part of Florida, about 60 miles inland. And one of those outer bands came through, and there was just lightning everywhere. There were lightning strikes within a few hundred yards of us during the broadcast. It was quite the scene last night. This morning, less lightning, but heavier rain and a lot more wind. So yeah, we were out walking around in that around 7, 8, 9 a.m. this morning, giving viewers an update as to kind of how that was rolling through. But here in Lake City, what we noticed is there wasn't a lot of damage. And by the time Idalia had really moved through by early afternoon, we were shocked at how little damage there was. But we went over to Live Oak, which is about 20 miles to the west of us, over in that direction. And that's where there's a lot more damage. That was closer to the eye of the hurricane. And over there are trees down, power lines down. And when I say trees and power lines, I mean you could throw a rock and hit a tree or a power line that's down. And it's a bit scary to walk around. There's trees in roads. There's trees on houses. There's trees on cars. It's a much different scene there. They're struggling with cell phone service out there right now because there are towers down, everything like that. It's a completely different tale of two cities just 20 miles apart, Alan.
And so, Josh, you were talking a little bit about just the electricity issues, the power outages from where you're at, what you saw. I think today at 5 o'clock you mentioned how some people believe they might be without power for weeks. Is that the case? Is that what you're hearing out there?
Yes, that's what people out here have been telling me. Now, here in Lake City, they told us they hope to have power restored by tomorrow, though as I look over there, it looks like there's actually might be one of the buildings over there may have just gotten power back not too long ago, so we'll have to check on that. But we're told here in Lake City, maybe tomorrow. Over in Live Oak, yeah, they're saying at least days, at least 3 or 4 days. It likely a week or more, just based on how many power lines are down all over the place. Nobody had even started working on the power lines while we were out there. They were just trying to get the trees off the power lines. And it's not just as simple as cutting limbs off and picking the tree up. There's counterbalance issues you got to worry about. You got to make sure when that weight of the tree comes off, it doesn't make something else fall somewhere else. So there's a whole set of mathematics that really goes into that. So it's going to be a really slow process as they slowly work through there. And then they got to get some of those trees off power lines that are also on houses, and you got to worry about the houses not collapsing. It's a whole mess that's going to take at least 3 or 4 days to fix.
All right, and the last question I've got for you here, Josh, it comes down to the morale of the people of the state of Florida, of South Georgia, of South Carolina. The people you've been speaking to here today, what's their mindset right now? What kind of emotional state are they in after dealing with another hurricane here in the Southeast?
Yeah, and you don't want to say shocked, because they're not necessarily shocked that something in this vein has happened, but maybe the severity of this situation has surprised people, especially over in Live Oak. I had an older gentleman who I was speaking to. He says he was born in Live Oak, has lived in the same home for about 60 years. He says he intends to die in that home when he gets older, and he says he has never seen anything like this. He was quite stunned that this kind of happened there. He said that, we've had floods, we've had rain, we've had all this. We have never had wind like this, and they weren't exactly prepared. He said, look, we weren't prepared for these kind of winds. We're ready for the rain, we weren't ready for the wind, and now we're going to have to deal with it. And it's just about those neighborhoods kind of coming together and supporting each other. Some people have water, some people have more supplies than others. While we were out there were some people helping each other out in that regard. But it's going to be, it's going to takes a village. You hate to use something that's said all the time, but it's going to take that whole community working together for quite a bit of time, because the weather here, it's not cool. It's muggy tonight, there's bugs, it's going to get hotter during the day tomorrow, and so everyone's just going to kind of have to suffer through the pain together as all of this gets fixed. But if you want the morale, the little surprise that this has happened, but upbeat, we're going to get through this. This is something that's not necessarily going to break us or bring us down. It's just going to be a little bit tough.
Gotcha. Joshua Skinner reporting right now live from Florida. Joshua, thank you so much for chatting with us, and you stay safe, stay dry. I'm glad the worst of it is behind you right now. Our Atlanta News First meteorologist team are going to be continue tracking this one as it rolls out into the Atlantic Ocean. Josh, we'll see you real soon. Hopefully we'll have you back in Atlanta sooner rather than later. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, that's just one of the team members we've got out and about right now that has been working to learn more about the areas impacted by this storm. But while they're out there, we've also got the rest of our meteorologists here in the station in Atlanta measuring the impacts of Idalia on South Georgia, on South Carolina, and on Florida. But on top of tracking the storm, they're also just tracking our local weather, because this rain we've been seeing the last couple of days isn't necessarily from Idalia. It's more so a system, and make sure I get this right. Patrick's right over here to my right staring at me real close. It's a system that is actually acting as the boundary, keeping Idalia from making its way more north.
It's close enough.
He said close enough, so I'll take it. That's why I'm not a meteorologist. But we're gonna go ahead and bring in Patrick Pete right here. I think I got like a C plus, maybe a B minus.
It was a solid B.
A solid B. I'll take a B minus. I'll take a B minus. Patrick Pete, walk us through it, man.
Yeah, so for sure, some of the lighter rain that we've seen earlier today, definitely associated with Idalia as she was rolling through. But what we're tracking right now at this hour, I don't know where you are. If you're like my producer Jordan, about 10 minutes ago, your First Alert weather app went off bust and told you that there was heavy rain outside. I don't think you heard me, but good evening. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. But something else that we're watching unfold across our area is this boundary that Allen spoke of. And that boundary, like he said, is essentially keeping the storm to our east. But what's happening is a lot of that tropical moisture that has been lifting northward with Idalia is kind of running into that boundary, and that's causing a little bit of instability. Now, if we had lots of sunshine today, we'd be talking about severe storms, but because we didn't have breaks in the clouds this evening, not long enough to destabilize the atmosphere, the only thing that we've seen is just a line of showers. It's been producing some moderate to heavy rain, but it's been very isolated, so nothing like what we saw yesterday. We had multiple locations that picked up roughly 3 to 5 inches inside of last night's storms, multiple reports of flooding. Thankfully, this is not what we are tracking right now. So let's dive into what we're seeing, and you can see an update on Idalia. It is still a tropical storm as of the 8 o'clock advisory. Those winds have been downgraded to 65 miles per hour. It's still moving off towards the northeast at roughly 21 miles per hour. As we head through the next few hours, that little line of showers that I was just pointing out will gradually slide to the south and east, and it's actually going to weaken. So I do expect us to dry out as we push into the midnight hour. We'll see clear skies, and that's going to allow temperatures to actually cool into what I like to think of as comfortable territory. Anytime now, let me be clear, I don't do this, so nobody come trying to jump in my window. But anytime that I can actually go to sleep with the air off and the window raised up at night, I'm happy. I'm country, I'm southern. What can I say? And the forecast for this evening is going to be that. Temperatures are going to dip into the 60s for the overnight hours. And we're actually trending to a pretty solid forecast as we look beyond tomorrow. Something that we're liking is the fact that we're not forecasting any real rain chances. Friday, there's about a 20% chance of an early morning shower. Everybody's not going to see it. It's looking mainly south and west of the city. But with all of the rain that we saw last night, which was roughly 3 to 5 inches in some places, and the night before we saw 1 to 3 inches in some places, our grounds need to dry out. We need some sunshine so our plants and our grass can grow and look nice before we get into our fall winter seasons and stuff like that. So looking forward to some dry time and looking forward to being able to take the top off my Jeep for a couple of days. Man, it's just been a bit messy the last couple of days. 86 the daytime high for tomorrow in Atlanta, same for Madison. 87 in Eatonton, 88 down in LaGrange. In Lakemont in the North Georgia Mountains, we're talking about being in the low 80s, 84 in LJ for an afternoon high. So these numbers are looking pretty good. I think the morning start in the mid to upper 60s is fantastic. Lunchtime forecast, upper 70s. Green light to go ahead and maybe take your food to a park bench and hang out for a couple of hours before you go back into work. Notice how I said couple. And then hang out in the mid 80s as you head home from work. It's going to be a gorgeous day. We do expect more cloud cover as we push into your Friday. And that's where there's going to be a little bit of moisture as well. With the clouds building in, that's going to keep temperatures a little bit cooler as we push into the afternoon. So we are expecting that. Most locations are going to top out somewhere near 80 or maybe a degree or two shy of that. Atlanta is typically one of the warmer spots in our region, so we expect to get to about 82 degrees for a daytime high. And then you'll see those clouds gradually start to thin out as we push into the overnight hours. Take a look at this Labor Day weekend forecast. Look at me. Look at this forecast. It does not get any better than this, especially considering, just a couple of weekends ago, we had triple-digit heat indices. And, I have to set this up. I have to set up the play of this fantastic weekend forecast. We could be feeling like 110 like we did 2 weekends ago. Thankfully, that's not the case. 84 degrees for your Saturday, lots of sun. A few more clouds on Sunday, but still climbing into the upper 80s, which is par for the course this time of year. 87 degrees is a golden forecast for this time of year. And then on Labor Day, when lots of you will be laborless, some of us will be laboring, and we're happy about it, of course. 90 degrees for a daytime high. So perfect to get out in the pool, perfect to get out in nature. Just a really solid, good weekend forecast. Go ahead and soak it up while we have it. And even as we head into next week, we're keeping that dry streak going. Temperatures, though, are going to climb into the low 90s. So all in all, once we get past these last couple of showers this evening, the forecast does trend into positive territory. The lower humidity moves in. And I haven't showed the muggy meter in this little broadcast because I'm going to show that at 9 o'clock coming up. I have to, get you to come and check us out on Peachtree TV. We're going to be breaking down that muggy meter, tell you which days are going to be comfortable, which days are going to be humid. We'll have that for you at 9 and 10. Meteorologist Frank Campagna is going to have another look at the newest data coming in on Idalia at 11. That is going to be eventually moving back out into the open waters of the Atlantic. Some interesting things going on with that track once it moves into the Atlantic. He's going to be breaking that down too. So all you have to do is just tune in at 11 to catch that. Meanwhile, we're here for a good time, not a long time. I'm going to leave you with this 7-day forecast, and you know where to find me. Talk to you soon.